Good morning, everyone. Hey. Good morning. Look, Shadow's back there. And so, I know I took a couple of days off, one more than I expected, but you know what? I needed that break. So today I wanted to come and I just wanted to talk to y'all about a little bit about a few things, okay? A few things that's happened to me this week since I haven't seen you guys. A few things have happened. Had the most amazing time at church. Church was wonderful yesterday. We went to church. It was super fun. Went grocery shopping after that. That was not as fun. Okay, because it was full yesterday. I didn't know it was gonna be that full up in there. But anyway, so like I said, I really, really feel, great today. Thank God. And y'all know, believing in magic. hmm So, I wanted to talk a little bit about my fears, my fears of when I came back here to Michigan. Come here, Foxy. My fears when I came back, and what kept me away for so long, because I've been away for so long, and the different fears that I had, with coming back. And it was quite a few. It was, trust me, it was quite a few fears that that I worried about coming back. The 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 one fear that was the biggest for me is, being in a place where I never achieved anything. Being in a place that, I was, just never felt, wanted, never felt appreciated, never felt, part of. And that was, that's Michigan for me. You know how people, always speak about, where they were born and raised, and, what they got out of it, and everything. And I got so much out of it, but I'm saying I was on a, it was like I was on a island of my own here. And yeah, yeah, that's how I say it. It was like I was on an island of my own here. I never made any real, real, you know, connections. Seriously. When I left Vegas, everyone who knows me know I believe that everyone is a connection. Everyone, that you meet, play a very good role in your life in the future, or whenever, and I've always lived like that. So I always treat people well, because I don't know when, or if I'll ever need them. So I've always been, the person who believed in treating people well because of that. Foxy, you ready to go? I honestly think she trying to get up out of here. What you doing? Okay, because she cannot stand Shadow, and and it's been it's been a little over a year that they have been sisters, and she still cannot. If Shadow lay anywhere near her, she just want to go the other way. Contour, she don't care about nobody. But anyway, so like I was saying, that was the biggest fear for me. So coming back to Michigan was really, you know, a way on me, and on my soul, and on, like, will I ever, get past all of the madness that I left behind? Will it come back? And y'all just don't know how long it took me, you know, to get out of the 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 loneliness. And that was the thing when I moved to Vegas, for the first, first couple of years, I can say. No, I could say for I don't know, about the first 6 to 8 months. I ain't gonna say a couple of years. For about the first 6 to 8 months, I never, I was by myself. I went out by myself. I did things by myself. And then I realized, and see, that's what people need to realize is once you find something that works for you, that works for you. And what worked for me is meeting people and having fun with them, and then they went their way and I went my way, and that was great for me. So Vegas gave me that. Like I said, I met people from all over the world. Oh my God, I met the most amazing people ever for that one night. And sometimes we would have fun enough to carry on for a second night. But I'm saying, but then they went back to their lives and I continued living mine. So that there was such a great thing. Stop, Shadow. That was such a great thing for me to to have that type of relationship with people. You know what I'm saying? So that was good for me, and that was okay for me. See, she running now because Shadow Butt right here, but that was good for me because Shadow, stop. Let me let Foxy up out of here. Okay, come on, get up out of here, girls. Woo. Both of them. Okay, I let them both out. Okay, so. Okay. Whew. So that was okay for me. That lifestyle was okay for me because for the simple fact, as I said, it was like being here. So many people convinced me, and they really did. And let me tell you, and it was so many people convinced me that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't, it was just, it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to explain, you know. So when I got to Vegas and I seen people who wanted to, be in my presence, people who wanted to be my friends, people who wanted to be in my life, it was that Michigan stuff that was in the back of my head, like, are you good enough? Are you friend quality? You know what I'm saying? And all of that because, for being people and here friend, I had to do what they wanted to do. I had to, like what they liked. I had to not like what they didn't like. You know what I'm saying? It was so stressful. And that's the word I'm going to use. It was so stressful to be friends with someone in Michigan. It was. For me, it was so stressful because they demanded everything out of me that they were not willing to give themselves. You know what I'm saying? And so once I once I got to Vegas, I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be up under nobody, so can't nobody demand nothing of me. You know what I'm saying? We can have fun. I see you, everything. We don't have to call, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't on the phone with nobody and all that. And then I started meeting people who liked me, people who admired me, people who seen something in me, that was amazing, and I wanted to be their friends, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, okay, I could be their friends, and you know what I'm saying? And there was a couple needy friends, you know what I'm saying? But I've never, been that needy friend, you know what I'm saying? And then, so, you ain't gotta call me every day. I'm not. Trust me. Trust me. I won't be calling you every day. That's who I am. When something wonderful happened or something sad happened or something whatever, I'll reach out to you. But I'm not the type that want to know what your day was about. You know what I'm saying? 99.9% of the times I don't want to know what my husband's day is about. Okay, so you know, seriously, you know what I'm saying? You know, I, so I guess I was never really able to be a friend, you know, and that's okay. But so as I was saying, so moving back to Michigan was was stirring up all these old feelings, you know what I'm saying, and everything, and so you know, I got here and to tell you, to be totally 100 with you, I had no expectations when I got here. You know, I truly didn't, and I think that's what's making my my journey back into Michigan so wonderful, because I had no expectations. I had no expectations with people who I knew in the past. I didn't expect them to be, you know, to be anything other, do anything other than what they done before I got here. Seriously. And I, you know, the only expectation I had was getting my family together, getting my life together, you know, getting my home together, all of that, things like that. And I am so glad that no one has came to try to interrupt that. You know, the people that have been in my life and the people who have welcomed me home have been the people who have been so great. You know what I'm saying? My cousin Dion, you know, my auntie Cookie, you know, my parents, you know, and everything. And it's like, we don't have to be nothing but who we are with each other. You know what I'm saying? And everything. And so I'm learning to accept that. You know, I love my cousin Dion. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be there if I call him. You know what I'm saying? And I always let him know. You know, don't ever feel like you're obligated to anything, because trust me, ain't nobody obligated. Honey, please. He went and got my family for me. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, he jumped on a plane. He went to Utah. He drove a whole day, okay, just stopping, letting the dogs pee and stuff. You know what I'm saying? He did all of that to get my family here. So trust me, I appreciate that. You know, that was something going out of his way. But I'm saying I would have never asked him if I didn't if I didn't know the situation he was in, that 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 I could help him as well. You know, so I'm saying, so that was good for me, and it was good for him. It was so wonderful and so kind of him. You know what I'm saying? My auntie Cookie, like I said, you know, when I first got here and I and I was at that damn hotel, you know what I'm saying? You know, she called me. She just called me, you know, and everything. And when she called me, you know, she went above and beyond, and she still go above and beyond. I have to say that, honey. She, you know, she know I have dogs. She know I love my dogs. You know what I'm saying? She know I like to get my dogs groomed. I like to get their nails cut and all of this. And she has helped me with that. You know what I'm saying? We talk almost every day. You know what I'm saying? On the phone, and we see each other at least two. You know, sometimes last week I think we seen each other once. You know what I'm saying? But the week before that, probably two times. Or you know, this week I'm hoping we see each other. You know what I'm saying? If we gonna run across each other most definitely. But I'm just saying, but I'm glad that she's in my life, because she allows me to be me, and she loves me for me, and she's not trying to critique me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about, you know, Michigan people. For me, you know, the problems that I had is they were quick to critique you, and you look at them and say, "Girl, your whole life is jacked up. How could you tell me? How could you tell me to clean up my living room, and your living room, dining room, kitchen, and all of your kids' rooms is messed up?" You know what I'm saying? You know, how can you tell me what colors look good on me, and you look a mess? You know what I'm saying? Seriously, and that's who 98% of the people who were in my life before I left. That's their character. So I'm truly blessed that I didn't anticipate that in my life, because I don't want that in my life. I really don't. And it's not I'm being mean, and it's not that I'm being, you know, standoffish. or anything like that. Cause, cause to be truthful, 99. Because to be truthful, I am being a little standoffish, but still, you know what I'm saying. You know, I have, I have, I have so much more to protect now. I have so much more, you know, in my life to protect now. So coming back here that was that was one of the scariest. That was the scariest thing for me, and then the whole drugs, the whole drug scene is, you know, scary for me. Thank you, Jesus. And I say that out loud, and I say it every day, or every night I wake up, or every morning I wake up. I say thank you, Jesus, for putting us where we're at in the city. So I don't have to be around those type of people. I ain't got to be around. You know what I'm saying? Because I to be 100% truthful with y'all, I don't know if I'm strong enough. I haven't had had to put myself in that situation. I haven't been in that situation in all of these years where I was around that. You know what I'm saying? I consciously kept myself away from that. I don't have any friends who are, on drugs. You know what I'm saying? I don't. And if they is, they ain't never told me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, in the one that I did, I tried to help him so much. I probably would have fell off if I would have continued, and then, by me being on it, and he was a super good friend, you know what I'm saying? And for a year of our friendship, I didn't even know he was doing this. So he was doing something right, but serious. I didn't know he was doing nothing for a whole year into our friendship. And then one day he came over to my house, and when he came up to my house, he was like, somebody's chasing me, someone's following me, and all of this, and the way he was acting, I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, you need some milk. You know what I'm saying? This first thing popped to my mind, because I've always, remember people say, drink milk, get you down off a high or whatever. So I said, you need some milk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I tried to get him some milk. I tried to get him to lay down, you know what I'm saying? And he just wouldn't. He just was so paranoid that someone was following and trying to kill him. And that's when I knew. And I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? And then I didn't see him after he left my house. I gave him money and stuff. But after he left my house, I didn't see him for like 8 to 10 months. And then when I seen him after the 8 to 10 months, he was, he was doing a little bit better, but you could tell he was still, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, excuse me. I was like, what is it that I can do for you to help you? You know what I'm saying? Because one thing I know is I don't care, how many people who tried to help me. And the people who helped me was the people who let me be. You know what I'm saying? That's the people who helped me. The people who let me be. The people who were, who was on me. The people who was trying to get me to stop and all of that. Those were, they didn't help. You know what I'm saying? My sister, she is so quick to say, I was there for you. I was trying, I did everything I came and got you out of a dope house and stuff. And I'm saying, and the next day I was back in there. You know what I'm saying? So what did you really do? You know what I'm saying? What you really did was put your life in danger. You know what I'm saying? So the thing for me is, and that's what I say, the thing for me is that, the people who tried to help me, they did nothing but but hurt me, you know, and they really did, because they were busy, you know, trying to tell me what I needed to do and all of this and all of that. And I was not going to do that, you know, with him. I just asked him, what is it that you need me to do for you? What is it that you need me to do? And he said, be a friend. And I said, okay. I said, and being a friend, what does that entail? You know what I'm saying? I need to know what that entails. You know what I'm saying? Because our friendship has always been real. So I'm saying, so I need to know, you know, is it gonna continue to be real? And if it's going to continue to be real, I'm gonna say some shit that ain't gonna be popular. You know what I'm saying, within our friendship. So what is it that you need? He said, just, you know, when I need you, I just need you. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, I can do that. You know, because that was my guy and everything. And so he was, you know, he lived his life. You know, he was, you know, okay. When he came around me, we ate. You know what I'm saying? I cooked dinner. We had fun. We went out. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and everything. And it was like when we first became friends, and I didn't know he was on drugs. I was his, you know, get away from drugs place. You know what I'm saying? And didn't have to hear, you know, you still doing drugs, what, you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I was that. And so, I gave him that. I gave him that again. And so, you know, because, you know, once he left my house, he didn't do drugs in my house. He didn't, I don't know if he brought it, but I'm just saying, he didn't do none of this in my house. And when we was together, we hung out, we had fun, we ate, you know, we went on Fremont, you know what I'm saying, and everything. And I'm saying, so because I learned from what everybody was trying to do for me, you know what I'm saying, and it didn't work. I wouldn't go fall into that, you know, trying to do that for him. And so we, you know, regularly seen each other, and, you know, then he would disappear for a couple of weeks and everything. Then I'd see him again or whatever. So when I met my husband, we were about to get married. I texted him. I was like, "Hey, you got to meet my husband." You know what I'm saying, and everything. And it took him a minute, but he, you know, when he came around, he was functional. He was, you know, not on drugs that I knew, you know, and everything. And he met my husband, and he fell in love with my husband. My husband fell in love with him. They were good friends and everything. So I'm saying, you know, and I told my husband, I said, you know, that's my guy. You know, don't judge, you know, anything, you know, and everything, because he's not going to do this stuff around us. But, you know, I just wanted my husband to know, because I want my husband to go off with him. No, and he come back on drugs. Because I have turned, not turned, but I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. You be around people, and they want that, they got the desire, and you're the one to say, sure, try it. You know what I'm saying? I'm fucked up. Why not you? Okay, so anyway, and that's, you know, you know, he stayed in my life and everything, and then he he was doing better. You know, he got a job. He was, you know, being successful. He was, you know, in everything. You know, so I seen, you know, myself, you know, getting better in him. You know what I'm saying? When I was getting better, and so we moved out of one place, and when we moved out of one place, we still had like what, 8 to 10 more months on the lease, and we end up passing it over to him and everything. And he paid the, you know, I would come up there and get the money so we could pay the rent, because of making sure, because it was in my name. You know what I'm saying? And he paid the rent on time. He was, you know, his house was his house. You know what I'm saying? You know, I had a key. Because he was my buddy. You know, he had a key to my house, and so. And I would, you know, go over there, and he always had food in his refrigerator. His house was neat, you know what I'm saying? And then when he got his little girlfriend, you know, and everything, and she was cool at first, and then, you know, you know how people are, you know what I'm saying? And that's it. And I was never the type to, where I said, "Oh my God, you could do better." No, he couldn't. Okay, you got exactly what you deserve. Our both was wretched. Really. And so, and so that was funny. But I'm But I'm saying, I never did. Honestly, I once I got to know her, I was like, she can do better. Why is she, what I'm saying? Whatever. And so, and so once he fell off again and everything, and this time when he fell off, he told me, he said, I need I need you and everything. And I said, okay, so whatever it is that you need from me, I'm willing to do and everything. So he ended up going to rehab, and he called me, while he was in rehab and everything, and I was rooting for him and everything, and see, I'm not a person who, like doing meetings and all that. I pray. But I'm saying, but some people are, that's good for them. Whenever I tried to quit and I went to a meeting, honey, I got high right after the meeting. So meetings was never my friend. Okay, and so he called and everything, and then when we, because he was the best man, and my best person too, because he was the only person at our wedding. You know what I'm saying, and everything, and so he called me, rehab and everything. So then he called me again, and he was like, "Yeah, they about to kick me out, because I got into it with somebody and everything." And I know how rehab places can be, and everything. I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, if you really want to, we were in Salt Lake City at this time." I said, "If you really want to stay off drugs and stuff like that," I said, "you can come to Salt Lake City, and trust me, you don't know nobody here." That's what worked for me, because I didn't know anyone in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So that's what worked and helped me, and everything. So I said, and so I'm thinking that'll help him too. But the things that help me, they ain't gonna help somebody else. Sometimes you realize that too. But I'm saying, I just volunteered it out there. He wanted to. That's what he called me for, to come move out with me anyway. So he ended up moving out there with me, and so me and my husband, and my husband loved him. So they had fun together and everything. And so I would go to Vegas and do, different trade shows and stuff. And so I did the Amazon show popped up and stuff. He had a job. As soon as he got there, I got him a job, at one of the places I used to work, everything. He got a job. And then he was like, he told me, he said, "I want to pay my own way." I was like, "You know what?" I said, "You can pay your own way." I said, "But at first, I said, first you got to get winter stuff, because it was getting cold." I said, "You got to get long johns, you got to get winter stuff, you got to get toilet paper, because he was downstairs, and downstairs was a whole apartment." I said, you got to get toilet paper, you got to get everything that you need, and everything. I said, "So I don't want your money." You know what I'm saying? We good. Our bills have been paid without you, and they're gonna continue being paid. So trust me. Don't think you're here because we need you. We're here because you're here because we want you to be here and everything, and we don't want to sacrifice your, you know, cleanness or anything, making you overwhelmed. Just worry about that. So when you get your check, let's go to the store. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even got to buy no food, because we eat. and so and so I went to the Amazon show, and I was doing the Amazon show. So I called home and stuff, and I was talking to my husband. I said, "Where's my friend?" Because I don't really want to use this thing, but I'm just saying. I said, "Where's my friend?" And so my husband was like, "He's downstairs. He's scared." I said, "What is he scared of?" He said he's seen somebody in the backyard. I said, "Oh." I said, "What did you do?" And he was like, "I went in the backyard and looked around, and I didn't see nobody, and I told him that he was safe, but he locked himself in the basement because he's scared." I said, "Honey, he's on drugs." Okay. Because my husband had no idea. But I was like, "No, he's not. He's not." I said, "He's on drugs." And so I came home in a couple of days. So when I came home and everything, and I said, "You know what?" I said, this isn't, you know, gonna work out. You can't be under the roof with me, and I'm I'm an ex-fiend, child. Please, you can't, be up under here with me. You know what I'm saying? That right there. I said, so what we're gonna do is we gonna get you. I'm gonna get you a ticket back to Vegas and do all this and all of that and everything. And he was like, and then he's like, no, I promise I'm done with it and everything like that. And I was like, okay, then whatever. And so I went down in the basement. You know what I'm saying? When I went out down in the basement, I was calling him or something. He wouldn't come. He didn't come or something. And I went down in the basement. When I went down in the basement, he had all of his stuff moved to the living room of the basement and not in the bedroom. I said, why your stuff ain't in the bedroom? You know what I'm saying? But that's another sign for me. Oh my God, he probably, don't want to be off and he just want to be somewhere wide open. So, because you're on drugs, you think somebody coming to get you. And so I went in the room, and when I went in the room, all of the windows were bust out. And this is winter. All of the windows were bust out. Ain't with no plastic covering the window. And we had all different kind of rodents in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. The people across the street had chickens. Okay, but I'm just saying, seriously, they had all these skunks and, oh, and just to imagine what could have came in my house and you didn't even tell me. And I don't know how long these windows been busted out. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, well, and then, and I was like, okay. I said, pack your stuff, cause I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, you know what I'm saying? I called the people to fix the windows. Thank God the people came that day, cause it was winter. They came that day to fix the windows. I called people to fix the windows. I took him to the Greyhound bus stop, gave him a ticket and put a couple of dollars in his pocket and sent him on his way. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, I did. I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because for one thing, I ain't got no children. That I have to, I don't, you know what I'm saying? We took care of a couple of people, kids. I have too, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I ain't got no children that I need to, you know. And he wasn't ready. And he was, and like I said, he didn't even come up and say, hey, I bust out the windows when I was high. You know what I'm saying? We got to get them fixed or put some plastic up, or something so I couldn't find out. But I gave him his privacy. You know what I'm saying? So he could have had the windows open. Them windows could have been busted wide open for weeks. You know what I'm saying? Because I was gone, everything, whatever. And I sent him out there and everything, and we stay in touch. Occasionally. We'll I text him or he'll text me or whatever occasionally. But he his life is his life. You know what I'm saying? And me seeing that life up close was so scary for me. It was so scary for me. Thank God I'm sane enough now to know that I don't want to go through that. I'm sane enough now to know that, that isn't my life now. You know what I'm saying? So coming back to Michigan, like I said, coming back to Michigan had me fearful that I would fall back into that. You know what I'm saying? But my body remind me that I ain't 20s, 30 no more. I ain't 40. I'm almost 60. You know what I'm saying? It reminds me, I get cold. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's that much high in the world that's going to keep me warm out there. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, and everything now, and I don't, have the desire. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? I really, really don't. And I'm saying so all of that, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna fall back into that. You know what I'm saying? That scared me. And it still scares me to this day. You know what I'm saying? Because I honestly don't have that desire. I don't, have my stomach feeling, any kind of way or think about different stuff like that. It's just that I know that, and I think that's me growing up. I know that nothing good came from it. And I'm in a place where everything is coming together for me, and I'm so afraid of losing that. So that was a big thing for me, fearful for me to come back. But now that I'm here, like I said, I surround myself with people who see the greatness in me. I surround myself with people who don't, want to, you know, get me in different mess. You know what I'm saying? And everything. People who genuinely cares for me. And and I can honestly say that. You know what I'm saying? My auntie Cookie, she has been more of a friend to me. Really, she really has. But then I think about the relationship that we had and the friendship that we had even before any of this. When I was younger, I told her about, I told her about, a time when I called her and she came to me right at that time. You know what I'm saying? I was on the run, whatever. You know what I'm saying? She came to me that time, and I remember, anytime, I needed her door was always open for me. You know what I'm saying? And you don't, and it was no judgment, and it wasn't, you know, telling me who I needed to be better. You know what I'm saying? And everything, it was like just loving on me and allowing me to go through what I needed to go through to get to where I am. And I'm so proud to say that, that was what I needed. You know what I'm saying? I know it's different for parents because parents have always been your parents. You know what I'm saying? So when they see you in a bad situation, they're going to, still try to be parents. But I'm saying, but siblings and cousins and friends and stuff like that, they have to, know that they don't have, that, even if they have the best intentions, because I can honestly say is I do not believe that my sister had the any ill intentions. I believe all her intentions was well and everything, but it wasn't her job to get me out of that. You know what I'm saying? I had to get myself out of that. And once I did, I was grateful. And I'm saying, and then as I say, growing up and everything, and I didn't really know, my siblings. I really didn't. I knew them when we was kids. You know what I'm saying? When we was what 5, baby to about 7 or 8, 9, 10. You know what I'm saying? You knew them then, but I didn't know them. You know, as teenagers, I didn't know them as adults. I'm saying I didn't even know them as parents when they became parents and stuff. I just walked in. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't, even really get an opportunity to know them then. You know what I'm saying? So they are like total strangers to me, as really they really are like total strangers to me. And so when I do get around them and they don't look at it the way that I look at it, because we are total strangers. They they look at it, oh, we family, so we know each other. No, we don't. You don't know me. You know that little child that ran away. You know what I'm saying? You don't know this adult now. You don't know this adult who went through everything that I went through to become the person that I am right now. You don't know that. You know that person. You know what I'm saying? So let's see if we can, kind of, you know, get to know each other now. And and I tried it, and it's so painful when you try something like that, especially with a sibling. You know what I'm saying? And then, me and my sister, you know what I'm saying? love her. You know what I'm saying? And I do, because, she's always had the best intentions for me. I truly believe. You know what I'm saying? So I love her and love her to death. I've always wanted the best for her. But I'm saying, but us hanging out, us, being together and stuff, I see that our values are different. We, if she wasn't my sister, okay, and that's the thing. If she wasn't my sister, I wouldn't want her to be my friend. Truthfully, and she probably feels the same way about me, and that's okay. See, and that's the thing for me. It's okay. But I realized that I love her, but I wouldn't want her to be my friend. So, so, so I don't have to try to make a relationship there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's never been one. So we don't have to make a relationship. We can still love each other. I love her to death. I swear I do. I love her to death. I love her children. I love her, her life. If she loves it, you know what I'm saying? And everything I'm saying, I just don't want to be your friend. You know what I'm saying? Serious, because you're not the type of friend that I need. And I'm sure not the type of friend that you need. So I'm saying, so that right there is okay. But like I told my auntie the other day, I said, if I see my sister tomorrow, I'm going to run, hug, kiss her, because I haven't seen her, in a couple of years. So I'm saying, of course, I'm going to be happy to see her. Of course, I'm going to be, praying that everything is great. But I know to leave it at that. And that's okay. I'm saying with my brother. I seen my brother, last month. You know what I'm saying? I seen my brother last month. He, ran into him over my parents' house. As soon as I seen him, we hugged each other, we talked, we laughed, we did all of that. He went about his business, I went about my business, because we aren't friends. You know what I'm saying? We aren't, and that's okay. See, and that's the thing. Everyone, these toxic people and toxic families and stuff think that that's okay, because I have an auntie who is totally toxic. You know what I'm saying? And she is totally, totally, totally toxic. And I realize that's someone that I would never in my life again speak to. I wouldn't even be in her presence. You know what I'm saying? That's because I know how it is. And I'm saying, but I don't feel that way about my siblings. I sure don't. I just feel the way that they doing their thing. God bless them. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing. God bless me. You know what I'm saying? But if we start forcing each other to be around each other, we start forcing ourselves to be around each other, it's not going to be a pretty thing. And so I know that. So guess what? I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm not gonna do it, you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, none of y'all coming beating on my door. You know what I'm saying? Bothering me. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, that's the last thing you have to worry about me. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, as an adult, I'll be 60 in May. As an adult, I am realizing what I need in my life, who I need in my life, who I want in my life, and still be okay with who I don't want in my life. And it's okay. It's okay. That's the thing about it. I kept, being like, is it okay? You know what I'm saying? No, we supposed to be close. I broke that bond when I left. Seriously, I broke that bond when I left. When I left and hit the streets and left my whole family there, I broke that bond. You know what I'm saying? It's different with my parents. They don't always... They get on my nerves sometimes. And I can't say they get on my nerves, but I'm saying, but we don't get along sometimes. I can't say they get on my nerves, but I'm saying, but we don't get along sometimes. And we genuinely don't get along sometimes. And when we don't get along sometimes, guess what? We both know how to break it away. You know, we know how to break away. And then when we call each other, we're happy to talk to each other because they are genuinely happy that I have my life. They are genuinely happy that if they pass tomorrow, they know that I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing for me, is that that's what a parent's relationship with you. My daddy ain't never been my friend. I like him. You know what I'm saying? I like my mama. I do. I like my mama most of the time. I really genuinely like my mother because we have so much in common. We have so much in common. So so I really like her. We have so much in common that we clash. You know what I'm saying? Because we have so much in common. But I'm saying, every we do. But I'm saying, but I genuinely like her. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Is that, some family members I genuinely don't like, and that's okay. We have to start realizing that a lot of things are okay for our sanity. A lot of things is okay for us to stay in a great place in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? And my struggles, with nobody there really, when I was struggling and when I was going through what I needed, whatever I was going through, with nobody really there for me. With nobody there for me, seriously, because guess what? I didn't allow anyone to be there for me. You know what I'm saying? 100% sure if I would have reached out to anybody, to be there for me, they wouldn't have been there the way that I needed them to be there. So that's good. So I'm saying all of these different things I'm saying is basically things that I had to consider before I moved back. And I had to weigh it in my head and weigh it in my heart and weigh it in my life and say, oh my God, can you deal with being and just being okay? So after doing all that thinking, after doing all that thinking, and I was like, you know what? But it's one thing that I don't want to regret, is that when I was able, I didn't want to ever, be able to think back and say, when I was able to be there physically for my parents, I wasn't. You know, I didn't, I don't think I could have been okay, with that. So coming back here and being able to be there for them, you know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna always get along, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna always be here. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna always be here for them. I'm just a what, half an hour ride away. You know what I'm saying? And everything, and I do enjoy spending time with them. When we do spend time, you know, the times that we have spent together has been fun. You know what I'm saying? You know, my husband making spaghetti this week. We're gonna call him, invite him over, and has some fun. You know what I'm saying? And everything, and then because I want to spend some time. They getting older. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, I want to spend some time with them. I want to, and everything, and so I'm able to. And that's the one thing, I will be able to rest with, because if they pass before me, I'm not going to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't want to not be in the, not be away from them and still don't see them. You know what I'm saying? At the end, everything. I'm just not a funeral person. I don't want to go see nobody. When when my dog Mascara passed, I couldn't go see her. I thought I could. I wanted to. I wanted so bad to go in there and say goodbye to her, but I couldn't. I fell down at the door. I could not do it. So I know I will not be able to do it with my parents. So it's okay. I talk with them. They're okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what my siblings think. You know what I'm saying? But I know, so I'm okay with it and everything. So I'm just saying, so I want to, like people say, give you your flowers while you're here, okay? And not worry about giving to you, because when you ain't here, I'm giving you your flowers while you're here. You know what I'm saying? What do you need from me now? So that's my goal in being here. But that's why I'm back in Michigan, and that's why I feel so safe and I feel so secure in everything, because I have a strong foundation now. My foundation has never been as strong. So if I fall, guess what? It's gonna be me, the one who tore it down. Like everything in my life, you know, and everything. But yeah, so that right there is my day, and I want to say thank y'all for listening to me. I truly appreciate it. Please, please, please like and please follow and like, and you know, share if you can. Follow, like, share. You better. Okay. Have a great day. Bye bye.